here we are on Cloud Kingdom, and in the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg player from StarTale. It is Life, and he's up 1-0 on his opponents, Team SEV.Life. That's weird.
Team Swarm.Life?
Yes. Their opponent, or I'm sorry, their representative is down here in the bottom left-hand corner. It's our red Zerg player, Revival.
So sometimes we have, you know, some weird name clashes, some funny versus. I think Life versus Revival is kind of a weird name fight because it's like a Revival is new life.
Yeah.
And if Life kills Revival, then that's just confusing to think about.
And it's Team
like
SEV.Life.
Yeah.
Revival.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point as well. That's like Monster all killing EG when Monster is their biggest or one of their biggest sponsors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes you just
As you sport your EG hoodie today.
I am wearing the EG hoodie today. It's warm. It's like a fuzzy blanket. It's starting to get cold here again in San Francisco. We had something like 86 degrees 2 weeks ago, and now it's back down to 66. So, yeah, that's San Francisco that I remember.
Yep.
Gotta wear these nice hoodies.
I love it, though. I love the weather out here. I really do. Anyway, both these guys, obviously we're not going to see the same super aggressive opening from Life. He's not taking his early gas. He's not taking his early pool. And I would imagine that both players are going to expand at some point. Or not at some point, but we do have spawning pools coming down first for both these guys. We'll see if either of them decides to get gas or if it's just going to be pool, hatch, gas afterwards.
All right, and with you know, the more typical ZVZ builds, I don't think Life is just going to hit the gas pedal after a certain number of drones. He's probably going to play this out a little bit more standard. And obviously Revival did, you know, get the information from Hyun from the previous game. I'm sure they talked or at least, you know, watched a replay or something like that. So the Revival has some idea of how the game went down. You don't want to actually just do the same thing twice in a row. I mean, sometimes you do. I don't know. It's a mind game thing. But Life looks like he is not wanting to do the same build 2 times in a row. He's just going to stick to the exact same identical build that Revival is doing.
That's right. Gas came down a little bit earlier for Life, but that's about all. It's going to affect about 8 gas worth of difference, so not the biggest deal to either of these players. Let's see here now how they want to follow this up, of course. We've seen this map devolve into just huge mass roaches and festers, and that's usually the way that things will go towards the late game. I always love the use of Mutalisks, though, 2-base Mutas into some sort of 3-base Roach Infester build. I always think that's the most fun ZVZ.
Right, and obviously Roach Infester can be really, really nice on this map Cloud Kingdom because you do have those 2 different entries into your opponent's base at the third and at the natural, so those destructible rocks obviously usually get taken out by roaches near the beginning of the game, but this third base can be very hard to hold on to after infestors hit the field with all their sneaky burrow hit and run tactics and things like that. It's pretty easy to harass that base.
Well, important to note that Life does have Zergling speed on the way, but he's not pulled anything off of gas so far. Still 3 workers in gas the entire time. A lot of times players will pull off to just 1, so they can sit there and, there we go. Was waiting for it, but Life is getting himself a little bit more gas to start. There's a defensive Baneling Nest coming up after the quick expansion. I would expect that Revival will do the same here in just a second.
Yep, and it should not be too long before he's able to do that, as Life is going to get the jump on him, though. If Life wants to be a little bit more aggressive and does realize that Revival's a bit slow on his Baneling Nest, he might be able to take some advantage of it. There it is, finally started for Revival, but Zergling speed lining up about the same time. Life is actually going to make some Lings first, while Revival's doing a round of 5 drones instead.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of Lings as well. I mean, 10 of them. Oh, now actually he's going to have 18 here in a second. So is this going to be a 2-base version of the attack that we saw last go-around? He's already morphing out a couple of Banelings. Are those at his opponent's base? They are morphing just outside. All
right, well, he's going to give it another try. A little bit slower than the previous one, but obviously as Zergling speed finishes, he could follow this up with quite a few more. Looks like he is still building a round of drones, 4 drones at least, and Revival still building pretty minimal amounts of Lings. There we see 6 in the production tab and another 2 coming up as Banelings.
And these Banelings, unfortunately, can't get in before the Spine Crawler finishes up, so it should be able to target fire out the Banelings, but it doesn't. These Banelings could do some good economic damage. Good reaction time for Revival, though, and unfortunately a bit of miscontrol from Life. He does manage to take out the Spine Crawler, but that's not worth the amount he put into the Banelings. Very nice, though, getting one Baneling for just 1 Ling.
That is something I always want to see in ZVZ. I remember casting a best-of-5 series between Idra and Sheth a long time ago, and it was just Idra's winning every engagement because he had the right idea, sending 1 Ling after banelings before they get speed is really, really easy to do. It's really efficient, and just ZVZs after that, every time I don't see it, I get a little bit upset because it seems like it's such an obvious thing, right? You just want to trade 1 or 2 lings even for that baneling rather than any more, but there's still such a threat. I do kind of feel like Life had an option there to just detonate the banelings and do some damage rather than, you know, trying to hang on to them as long as he could. It obviously didn't work out that great, but he could have gotten some damage in on the drones, could have gotten some damage in on those banelings as they were still morphing in, or at least the queens, just to do something. But sometimes you just gotta, you know, realize that your banelings are forfeit and just try to get the max value for it.
Nice job. Picks
Nice
off
again.
another baneling once again. Only loses a couple of lings there in the entire exchange altogether. This is quite a market difference in our 2 builds, though. Just now we see Life moving up to layer tech and 4 gas, but he already has 1/1 upgrades on the way. Revival prioritizing that layer much faster than Life did, so he'll have a bit more tech available to him, but Life is going to be very ahead in upgrades.
Well, as long as Life has eyes in the sky, those overlords, and, you know, Zelnugga towers under his control, if he sees roaches starting to move toward his base, he can actually throw up a warren and still be able to defend quite well. He just won't be able to attack in as easily because Revival obviously has those much beefier units, the roaches already standing by the time he would get there. So layer coming up for Life, though, it looks like he wants to switch perhaps toward infestors a little bit sooner and just get the roach warren up, you know, with time. As the infestors are starting to come out. But Revival already getting his infestation pit up.
Yeah, infestation pit is well on the way, and so he's moving clearly ahead towards his upper tech, and there is the infestation pit you were talking about for Life. Now on the way is he's not just putting down a macro hatch, but also an expansion. They have an opportunity to deny this hatch from Revival, though, for a little while. Good positioning of his lings. Look at that. Forces the cancel, takes out the baneling, and can actually come back and pick off this drone. Let's alive. There we go.
Life is doing an incredible job just detaching 1 ling to deal with those banelings. I mean, it's just such a small thing. It gives you such a big, clear advantage when you're able to trade 1 ling for 1 baneling. So the fact that he's been able to do that multiple times is helping him obviously keep a lot of his speedlings alive. And actually did help him deny that 3rd base after the early encounters went his way. 12 roaches in production now for Revival, but like I said, Life is getting the roach warren up now, so he does still have time to get up some of his own pathogen glands researching as well. So he might even have an infestor or 2 popping out by the time these 15 roaches from Revival are able to help out.
And this is almost the most clear example of how supply doesn't necessarily dictate who's ahead in a game, because Life, he denied his opponent's 3rd. His own 3rd is just about to finish. He's got way more upgrades than his opponent, and he's got higher quality units for now. So even though it shows him as being behind in supply, was 70 to 98 a second ago, not an indicator that he is actually way behind in this game.
Okay, so that was a bit rough. He ran in, got a little bit too far in before realizing he was not going to be able to do some damage there. Could have held on to a few more lings, but that's fine. Obviously, he has that information now. He knows how many roaches are starting to hit the field, and with his 6 infestors already with pathogen glands completed, fungals are going to be a huge, huge factor the next time these armies meet. Life did actually build that roach warren, but still has not made any roaches with it.
Yeah, I mean, well, roach speed is coming up now, and there's the +1 weapons for the ground forces as well. But Ling Infestor Ultra has certainly been a thing as well. It's hard to do it and bypass the roach stage altogether because you do leave yourself a little bit susceptible to attacks. But let's see here now. This is still a pretty rough amount of roaches that are being produced for Revival, and he will be able to hit with a very strong attack. But there is a nice defensive position forming in for Life, actually at both of his bases, and with his infestors, we'll see if he can defend.
The fungals, the infestors, are actually in a nice position to drop fungals on either side. Revival wants to do a 2-prong attack, it looks like, but he only needs to split his infestors to be able to stall this for a while. He can fungal in range of the spine crawlers, for example, like he just did, send in all those speedlings to try and soften up the front, and then fungals that AoE damage that's can actually cover a lot of ground, and all these roaches are actually going to be taken out at the natural at the 3rd base. Only 5 or 6, actually 7 or 8 are remaining now, but looks like they're out of energy for fungals. They are just going to throw out those infested Terrans instead, but now the roach count is high enough for Life to be able to repel this as well.
And a good job to keep most of those infestors alive. So Revival still just trying to push ahead. Lots of units being produced for both players at the moment, and the 3rd base is finally online for Revival, but he hasn't decided to move any drones over there, produce any more drones for that matter, and try and saturate it. Just a slight worker advantage for Life.
All right, Life is going to actually push out of his base a little bit. I'm not sure if he realizes that contingent of roaches is still at the top, but now that he can come back, he can actually attack from the bottom side. If he catches a fungal somehow, I don't see the infestors there, actually. That could have been really dangerous for Revival, but it looks like he's actually just going to burrow his infestors and start moving across the map, and perhaps start to do some harassment with them while defending at home with those spine crawlers and roaches that are continually pumping out.
And he did just pop out a few more infestors, or I should say 3 are just about to pop out. Probably needs to bring... No, he's actually just going to continue with those infestors.
Yeah.
Believes he has enough back at home to defend this. Now, of course, Revival is engaging all of Life's forces with only half of his, so Life is able to pretty easily dispatch of that, but this is what it opened up, and Revival's going to move through and try and pick off a little bit of economy, maybe some tech here.
Oh man, this looks kind of scary for Life. That is quite a lot of roaches. He has a bunch forming up at his natural now. Actually, Revival, not sure what he's actually going to be targeting, but those infestors have reached all the way into the main of Revival. We've got this other front where roaches continually burrow and regenerate. Looks like we've got not a base trade, but actually just 2 attacks going on, 2 major attacks that could be very devastating. It looks like Revival has not been able to pick off any tech. He tried to get for the Baneling Nest. He is actually finally encompassing Life's 3rd base, and the key here is that Revival still has not made any infestors. Life does have an Overseer over those roaches, so they won't be able to regen fully. It looks like a lot of drones were killed by these infested Terrans.
Let's actually see, yeah, 22 drones killed to 13 at the moment. Revival's killed a little bit more, but his attack has been going for a bit longer. Fortunately, no scans or anything like that, so Burrow was able to hide those completely. This base still has not fallen, and as we can see, Revival's actually losing quite a bit of supply because these infestors are attacking in multiple places at once. Fortunately, they don't have any energy to try and harass this 3rd. Worker count is 36 to 35.
Wow.
Both players actually very low, but Life is just annihilating his opponents.
Life just, came in with a flank from the bottom side. Revival doesn't have nearly enough units. Look at the supply now, 128 to 74. I'm really surprised Life was able to shoo those roaches out of his base without losing any major tech. Those 5 infestors that came down just made, 7 or 8 infested Marines at each base, and they was able to clear out those drones pretty quickly as Revival was focused very intently on trying to do damage in Life's main.
And the overall roach count is now 40 to 13.
Ouch.
And all those roaches are starting to bring their forces to bear here on Revival side of the map. Excuse me. The roaches all getting punished very quickly for Revival. The Spinecrawler is going to go down here in a second, and Life just has nothing standing between him and a 2-0 advantage for StarTale. There's GG. StarTale's up 2-0.
All right, Life already starting with 2 very impressive kills in ZVZ, taking out Hyun in the quick and dirty way. I mean, if I was facing Hyun, I would probably want to kill him as fast as possible, too.
Yeah.
Definitely nothing against Life for that, but he got a quick win. And then against Revival, just held on long enough. The fact that he had his infestor tech in place before Revival was able to get... Revival never researched pathogen glands. He had the infestation pit actually completed first, but he saw that he had the roach advantage, and he tried to just push his way in, and he actually got all the way into the main, just didn't kill any tech, didn't really do enough damage to stay in there and forfeit all those roaches, and eventually Life, with those 3 bases, was able to overrun him.
Okay, well, that's game number 2 in the books. Game number 3, the next member for TSL is going to be a Zerg player.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be Symbol making his way in now. So Symbol's the 3rd Zerg player in a row that's being sent up for TSL, but even though Hyun has been dominating in online events and stuff like that, and is even doing well in Code A, did win his match and get into the round of 24, I think it is. Symbol is still, a proven Code S player. He's incredible all around, and we'll see if he can actually bring things back against StarTale.Life. 2 things before you go. 1, we already have tickets on sale for IPL 5, which is going to be at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas from November 29th through December 2nd. All information about tickets, discounted hotel packages, everything is on IGN.com/IPL5. We also found out that right now Southwest is offering 40% off flights to Las Vegas if you book by the 11th, which is tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in on that, it could actually save you a bundle of money. Second of all, we have a great, awesome giveaway from our friends over at TT Esports. They have actually given us a mouse and a mouse pad this week to give away to you. So if you want to enter to win that, head over to tinyurl.com/IPLTT Esports 3.
Yep, and as we come back, TSL Symbol will be facing off against StarTale.Life, who's already taken out 2 of TSL's strongest Zergs. We'll see you on the other side of the break.